Good morning, everybody. This is Martin John, and we are here to talk about the Tao Te Ching. This is Tao of the Day, a program that I've been doing for a number of years here on Noom Vibe, and before that, Wisdom. I am always interested. So the Tao and I have an interesting relationship. I was introduced to the Tao early in my recovery journey. I have 23 years clean and sober, and a large aspect of what I talk about is recovery, not necessarily recovery from drugs or alcohol, although those are things that I initially dealt with. I talk about recovery from the aspect of what is it we're recovering to, not what we're recovering from. And the Tao Te Ching, which I present here on Tao of the Day, really does involve and envelop this idea of who are you and what are you moving towards. And it's always about looking forward. It's always about encompassing more rather than putting on blinders and looking at a single thing. My recovery journey spans obviously decades, but so much of what I found is that I wasn't only living under the influence, and I'm still living under the influence of ideas, and I'm still living under the influence of people in my life, but I'm not only living under the influence of drugs and alcohol, but I'm living under the influence of my parents, and I'm living under the influence of the education system and all of these things. And so much of what, when I was in active addiction and when I was living in that way, so much of what I saw in the world, I wanted to be able to manipulate and change and I wanted to be different, right? I want something else to be different. I want it to be easier. I want it to be lighter. I want it to be one thing or another. But what I found over time is, and especially, and this is something that I find really kind of deep in the Tao Te Ching, is that we don't have to ask other things to change for our lives to be meaningful, or for our lives to be happy, or for our lives to be what we want them to be, or for our lives to be just awesome and magical in every way. And the Tao Te Ching really kind of points to that. And that's what I mean by when the Tao helps us live a more reasonable life. Because it's not reasonable to ask other things to change. Right? How much time do you have to dedicate to another person or another thing so that it's changed? Like, you have your life to live. Are you going to dedicate your life to changing other people? Because you might be not utilizing your time as, as effectively as you could if you just lived your life in a way that's reasonable. And what I mean by reasonable is that we're not asking other things to change. We get to be ourselves, and then that inspires other people. And that inspiration of other people, because you're not the one inspiring them, your actions happen to be inspiring them, and your actions are inspired through Tao. So your actions are inspired through Tao. Other people see you because they're inspired to observe you. That inspiration is coming through Tao, and they are ultimately inspired to change, and that is through Tao. Tao is at the core of all things. It is even the source of God, as it says in the Tao Te Ching. So bringing it all back around. So the Tao of the Day is a program that I do every day, 6 a.m. Central Time. 7 a.m. Eastern, and I invite you to come up. Let's chat a little bit about what's going on in your life right now, and then I'll ask you to pick a number between 1 and 81, because there are 81 chapters in the Tao Te Ching. I'll read that chapter to you. We'll see what pops out at you and what is most sort of like what most captures your attention, because even though I read this, these are like riddles, they're poems, they're all sorts of things. And it's not always easy to just read it once and then get it. So then we'll go through it line by line and see if there are other things we can glean from it. Even though, you can't always understand the whole, of what it says, something always does pop out. So if you're interested in picking a number between 1 and 81 and chatting a little bit about the Tao and seeing what it's like to go through a Tao of the day, or if you've been on before, please come up. I'll go ahead and pick a number if nobody wants to come up. I'm going to pick 52 came to mind. Like Tao, so too you. All things. Oh, Cameron Cook wants 56. Cameron, I do love it when we get to have a little conversation about this to see what's going on, but I can read 56 for you. That would be absolutely okay. So number 56, Cameron, is entitled "Learn to Be Silent." So the fact that you can't talk is right along is right along the lines of this Tao. Learn to be silent. So it reads: those who know aren't drawn to speak. Those who don't know are compelled to. Can you close your senses and your mouth? Can you be guided by the empty void? From there, meditate in silence. Blunt your sarcasm and wit. Simplify your struggles. Shade your brilliance. Be at one with the dust. This is primal existence. Be like the master. She is uninspired to acquire fame, yet honors are bestowed upon her. She is possessed by no one and possesses no one, yet is always loved by many. She is immune to both attraction and repulsion, receptive to both profit and loss. She is noble and held in high esteem by all beings. So Cameron, I don't know what's going on in your life right now, but looking at this, those who know aren't drawn to speak. Those who don't know are compelled to. That's a beautiful start to this Tao. And it's not saying those who don't know speak, but they're compelled to speak. They're compelled to speak because they're trying to fill things in. They're trying to fill in the space. They're trying to fill in the discomfort of the silence. Those who don't know aren't drawn to speak. And that, once again, doesn't mean that they don't speak. It just means they're not drawn to do it. They'd probably prefer to be quiet. Those who know aren't drawn to speak. When you know something and someone's running around and claiming something else, have you ever had that experience of like, oh, I'm just sitting here? Yeah, the ones that we pick are always the ones that we need the most. Cameron said there's nothing in this book that she needs more than this message. So those who know aren't drawn to speak. Those who don't know are compelled to. I know there have been times in my life where, I know something is true to such a degree that I don't need to convince someone else that it's true. They can have what they want. They can say what they need to say, and I don't need to convince them. I'm not drawn to try and change their mind. I'm not drawn to speak. I can allow them the space to have what they need in that moment. The next line says, can you close your senses and your mouth? Can you be guided by the empty void? Your senses, your sense of maybe being right, your sense of knowing something, your sense of being uncomfortable with maybe not even knowing the truth. Can you close your senses? And can you just be with them? Can you be with this experience that you're having, this moment? And can you be guided by the empty void, the emptiness of just like if you like the empty void, does relate back to the darkness, right? Relate back to that quietness. Relates back to Tao. And then by being guided by the empty void, it says the next lines from there. So from the empty void, from being there, it says meditate in silence. Blunt your sarcasm and wit. I remember there was a time in my life when I was on dating apps and things, and And people would be like, I'm sarcastic, and if you can't handle that, then burp, burp. And I'm like, there is nothing really. Um, there is a quitting smoking. Cameron asked if I have anything to quit smoking. Yeah, a lot of what I do does revolve around addiction. You may know I quit smoking a number of years ago, over a decade now, I think. But quit drinking and smoking 23 years ago. Drinking and drugs 23 years ago. And a lot of what I talk about is about recovering and recovering yourself, and recovering to who you are. I do have things that we could talk about. If you want to kind of reach out to me on my website and stuff, you can go to my profile, and we can talk more about that there. Yeah, smoke. It's the worst. Tobacco. Cameron just mentioned that tobacco is insidious. It's it's the best advice someone gave me when I was struggling with quitting smoking is you're going to do it until you don't. And that's not. I know that might not sound great, but the judgment that comes with it really stagnates the ability to quit. And so, relieving yourself of that, uh, and recognizing that you don't like that you do it, right? Like, because you can like smoking, and you can just like, I mean, I talk about this in the state of an Oreo cookie sometimes, where it's like an Oreo cookie is designed to be liked, just like a cigarette is designed to be addictive and liked, like your body craves it and stuff. So I remember when I smoked, it was years of not liking that I was smoking. And I even didn't like smoking, but there was something that I just kept doing. Um, yeah, how you see yourself. And that's, she said, it comes down to how you see yourself. And, that judgment, it is within that judgment that stagnates energy, and that keeps us from being able to do what is best for us at that moment. So, it says here in this Tao, simplify your struggles. It says blunt your sarcasm and wit, simplify your struggles, shade your brilliance, be at one with the dust. And that does point to, because the struggle of quitting smoking is complicated when we think about it. But again, like you said, it's about how we see ourselves. And when we can simplify it to something like that and see that like the judgment isn't necessary, we can grow beyond it, and we can find that space where we don't. When I tell people, and when I use the idea of you're going to do this until you don't, asking the question when you're lighting that cigarette, is this a moment that I don't? And if not, then go ahead and smoke. No big deal. You've done it before, you'll do it again. But constantly reminding yourself, well, one, I don't like that I do this. And two, I'm going to do it until I don't. And those two things can get us very far in quitting things, because we're giving ourselves grace. As this number 56 continues, be like the master. She is uninspired to acquire fame, yet honors are bestowed upon her. She is possessed by no one and possesses no one, yet is always loved by many. She is immune to both attraction and repulsion, receptive to both profit and loss. That last one, immune to both attraction and repulsion, receptive to both profit and loss, that relates a lot to addiction as well. Profit and loss, you lose. If you have time and you lose time and all of this, it's like, no, if you're doing this thing, that's okay that you're doing it. It's the judgment behind the doing it that is really kind of keeping you tied up. Otherwise, you are free to be who you are. Cameron, thank you so much for joining me. As this one wraps up, yeah, you have to be able to be open. Like Cameron's mentioning, she's trying to be a trader as well. So you have to be open to what's going to happen. Because if you only want it to happen one way, There's a verse in here that says, if you want everything, you have to know what everything is. You know what I mean? If you want everything, you have to know what everything is. And so, if you want to win, you have to experience loss. If you want to profit, you have to experience loss. If you want attraction, you have to experience repulsion, because without one, you can't have the other. So, she is noble and held in high esteem by all beings is the last line. And I'm sure you are as well. Well, the answers to the universe, Cameron mentioned she's been thinking about knowing the answers to the universe. That's a tall order, dear. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you. And I'm gonna bring up D, and we're gonna see what number D has. Cameron, I'll send you the text for that so you can check it out later. D, how are you?
I'm very good this morning. How are you?
I am well. What's going on in your life these days? What brings you up?
I've actually got a lot going on. I just recently quit smoking weed, and it's been a habit in my life for the past 6 years, every day, constantly, all the time.
Yeah.
But this change is necessary, and I feel very motivated that there's a bigger purpose that I need to see through.
Yeah. Yeah. So how long did you quit it? How long ago?
I quit. I am now, what's today? It's Monday. I'm about 9 days sober right now.
9 days.
Yes.
How's it feel?
For the first couple of days, I was curious to go back to it, but I'm
Yeah.
really sticking to it,
Yeah.
and I'm really gaining some clarity and perspective on a couple of things in my life, and I feel like with this distraction of weed in my life, I couldn't have sought through the same answers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot, because there's so much escape with anything, drugs, alcohol, sugar, food, like weed, whatever is like we're always, in the sober world, they talk a lot about like, I gave up, addiction. And this is something you've been doing for 6 years daily. Like, I don't want to sit here and utilize the word addiction, but addiction in this context is, giving up everything for one thing, where sobriety is giving up one thing for everything.
Yes.
And that's the big difference. When I talk about this idea, like who I was talking to Cameron just a moment ago about this idea of like, one, you're going to do it until you don't. You found a moment in your life where you were like, this is enough. You did it until you were ready to stop. Now, maybe you're not ready to stop, and maybe you'll start up again, and that's okay, because you've done it before. You'll do it again, possibly, and it doesn't, and you don't have to. But it's not something that you need to judge yourself on. It's just something that might come up because it exists in the world. One of the things that led me away from AA is the idea that like everybody, because this is 20 some odd years ago, that was the only game in town. And one of the things that led me away from it was the idea that you couldn't imagine ever doing it again. And the problem is that like, but it exists in the world. And I am not a rock, I'm a human being. And although I haven't drunk in 20 some odd years, it took me 5 years to solidify that, But you're going to do it until you don't. It sounds like you've done it until you don't. And and coming to it on your own is such an important aspect of really succeeding in it. Because when you force yourself to do it, or when other people tell you, you should quit, and then you quit for other people or for other things, those things always fail. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And so congratulations.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And you know, the nice thing about, well, I don't know where you live, so you may live in a house in which weed is present.
Yeah.
That's hard. And you may live in a state in which weed is legal. Um, and weed is so easy to come by, even in states in which weed isn't legal. Um, you know, there was a time where it was like, you know, it was hard. Like I struggled with cocaine. You know, it was there is a point where it's like it's hard. You have to make an effort to find cocaine. You know, like when you live alone and when or when it's not in the house. But when weed is in the house, just like this is the same with cookies and people who eat sugar and things like that. It's like it's ubiquitous. It's right there. I have access to it, and that's hard.
Yeah, and I feel like I've been gaining some more self-control lately in the way that I'm beginning to cut back on sweets and stuff, and I've been hitting the gym way harder lately,
Yeah.
and I feel like that sense of self-control applied elsewhere and realizing that that control is within my grasp, that it encouraged me to take control of my life and
Why don't
change
we
for the
pick a
better.
number between 1 and 81 now? Because I'm going to tell you, like, be careful. Careful. You know, like
Okay.
a piece of cake in the refrigerator, you can say no to until you got to take a piss at 2 o'clock in the morning.
True. True.
You will, it will, your ability to control the universe is scant at best.
Yeah.
The moment the universe is gonna, you know, I remember one time I was coming home from the gym and I was a half a block from my house and I was having a craving for a cigarette. By the time I got home, I found a brand new, crisp, like cigarette just sitting in the crack of the sidewalk. And I was like, it was hard, but I was like, not today. Not today. And I went home and I was really happy but it was like the universe will test you. So don't like don't think you have more control over the universe than you do. Be
Oh,
humble in
definitely.
this journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
All right, so let's pick a number between 1 and 81.
Let's do 36.
36 we go. Okay. 36 is entitled Going About Your Business. It's not too long. I'll let you know when we're done. If you want to take a deep breath, you must first empty your lungs. If you want to make something weak, then observe it first as powerful. If you want something destroyed, then see it first glorified. Identify your rigid desires. Meet them with flexibility. The soft overcomes the hard. The slow overtakes the fast. Just quietly go about your business and the results will speak for themselves. What does that say to you?
That was honestly like the perfect thing I needed to hear right now. That was just ultimately amazing in every word that you said.
Hmm. We'll go over it again. What popped out at you?
Well, like just the fact that you gotta go about your business despite everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like above all these distractions are gonna come in, but like when you said the soft um
Overcomes the hard.
overcomes the hard, I feel like sometimes maybe I put up a more tough front,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that deep down inside I'm exactly the opposite. I am the softer type of fella.
Mm.
And
Me too.
when and when you
It's not
said
easy.
soft overcomes the hard, that really like I guess it takes more strength to be soft than to be
Yes.
hard, you know?
Yeah. And when I hear you speak about like controlling the universe, you know, and like controlling the space or controlling your mind or control, it's like, really? taking a deep breath, relaxing your shoulders, and like there's more strength in that than like clenching up and being afraid of what might come.
Yes.
You know? I mean, the universe is going to give you all sorts of stuff, but the one thing that it's always going to give you is support. You have to go through some shit because you have a job to do
Mm.
here in your life, and your life has purpose. You don't know what that is. And okay, I mean, yeah, you could make a manifested purpose. You know, my purpose is to be a millionaire or whatever the fuck, right?
Mm.
But the universe didn't make money, right? The universe don't give a damn about how much you have, how much you do, how much success you have. You have to go through some conscious knowing of who you are. You were
Mm.
given this gift of life, right? And now it's your job to live quietly,
Mm.
go about your business. Now, you can go around and tell everyone you got 9 days sober of weed and make that your life.
Mm.
Trust me, in a month, ain't nobody going to give a damn. Look, get on with your life. What's next for you? You know, you could be that guy that jumps out of an airplane and then you just tell everybody about how you jumped out of an airplane. And 6 months down the line, it's like, okay, man, what's next?
Yeah.
Like, well, who cares? Who cares that you did this? Right? Just quietly go about your, don't tell anybody. Do it for you. Because you know what? I've known so many people that were junkies and then went on social media and told everybody how they quit.
Mm.
And then they wind up dead of overdosing because they
Mm.
can't come out. And I'm in the sober camp. Like, I'm someone you should be talking to. I'm someone you should be, like reaching out to. But you are too strong. You strong-willed. You want to have this persona. You're clenching. You're controlling. Where the reality is you're having trouble. You're having struggles, and it's like not you, but they were, right? I mean,
Mm.
you may be. I don't know, but here's the thing. Like, this is where these rigid desires are. Identify your rigid desire. What desires do you have that are so strict that you can't even admit?
I think that a sense of loneliness is, at the end of the day, that sometimes I don't respect myself enough, and maybe sometimes I don't love myself enough to put myself first, that I'm more selfless sometimes, you know.
Yeah. Meet them with flexibility is the statement here, right? Be like, oh, that flexibility means how do we define it? Can we define it differently than that? Can we look at it from a different perspective? We say, okay, maybe, when you say like, I don't love myself enough or I don't respect myself enough, like, that's interesting. What does respecting myself more look like? And can I do that? Because I might not be able to do it today, but that's okay. Who in my life or what do I see out in the world that shows me that I don't respect myself? Can I practice saying no to other people? These are just a couple ideas. Once we start to see ourselves, right? Once we start to see, so you have a rigid desire. Now, this isn't a conscious desire of yours to not love yourself, but it is a rigid stance you have in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And you may have that stance because as a child, in order to survive, you had to help others. And if you didn't help others, you would be beat or you were in trouble or you got left out of things. The only way that you could be a part of something is by doing something for someone else. And so the only way that you could be a part of the group, that you could be loved, was to do things for others. And so in your mind, you believe the world is set up. You have a frame of reference in which the world is set up that if you put yourself first, you will be thrown out of the group. You will not be loved. because you aren't important enough.
Mm-hmm.
So those might be things that you've experienced because of what you're saying. I'm just kind of gleaning information. This is sort of what I do. But in that frame of reference lies a rigid desire, not a desire that you chose to put in your mind, but it is a desire to be loved. And your frame of reference of the world that you made when you were 6 years old or 4 years old was that I have to do for others. That's what life is. And then you grew up what I would call under the influence of that frame of reference.
Mm-hmm.
Due to your being under the influence of that frame of reference, you lived your life, and weed became a way that you could escape that. And that was a way that you could be who you were. And I bet 6 years ago when you started smoking weed, you were like, first time you smoked, you were like, oh, this is something for me.
Mm-hmm.
And this allows me to kind of say no. Because
Definitely, yeah.
I literally can't do anything else. So like I can give myself this time. And so now that maybe you're starting to see your relationship to weed being associated with this rigid desire of yours, right? Again, it's not a rigid desire you chose to have. It's a rigid desire that you're living under the influence of,
Mm-hmm.
like your frame of reference of the world. Now you can start to become aware. There is nothing more powerful than awareness. Nothing. And so just being aware of this, it's going to start to alter because you'll realize how stupid it is to have a frame of reference that says that.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go back to the beginning of this, if you want to take a deep breath, you must first empty your lungs. If you want to change your frame of reference, you must first let go of your frame of reference.
Mm-hmm.
You have to first become aware that your lungs are already full. You have to first become aware. If you want to make something weak, then first observe it as powerful. If you want to weaken this frame of reference, first recognize how powerful it is and how deep it has affected every aspect of your life. That's awareness, simple awareness. Just first witness how powerful it actually is. If you want something destroyed, see it first as glorified. See how you have taken this frame of reference and put it on a mantle and put it on a pedestal and lived your life as if that were true. See it. Recognize it. Admit it. Just like my friends who have wound up dead from opiate overdose without asking for help when they were in the recovery world. Like you could either admit it with softness, with the softness that you have, and recognize that that's going to overcome the rigidness. That's going to overcome the strength that you think you need to power through. You're going to have to relax into it. You're going to have to surrender to it. And that awareness will guide you out of it. Because that awareness is Tao, that awareness is God, that awareness is patience.
Mm-hmm.
The soft overcomes the hard, slow overtakes the fast. Just quietly go about your business and the results will speak for themselves. Trust me, you can sit here and tell everybody all about all the things that you're doing. But in a year when you're a completely different person and everyone looks at you and goes, what's happened to you? And they say that because they don't know. They don't know that you've grown because so many people are not growing with you. And that's hard. That's a hard aspect of awareness. Because when you gain awareness and the people around you do not want that, because you know, even on this call, you've realized that new ways that you have a lot of work ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
And quitting smoking or quitting using weed, that is an invitation to be you.
Mm.
Quietly go about your business. Thoughts?
Yeah, that's very beautifully said, man. And you're like, wow, I'm just sitting here in awe and amazement that you really just like, you're just expressing the truth. And I feel like you said, that it was very subconscious and maybe I was having difficulty recognizing that.
And I want you to know, like, it's not psychic. You just told me everything I needed to know
Hmm.
in the way that you expressed it. So every moment of your life, you're expressing yourself in one way or another. Now, if you can become aware to what you're expressing, you will learn about yourself every step of the way.
Hmm.
It's how you express, what words you choose to express, what words you choose to emphasize. All of that stuff is just being, you're showing everybody who you are. It's energetic. But, and that's why the law of attraction, things like that exist, because you're actually putting it out there all the time.
Hmm.
You know, and you live within a frame of reference. We all do. We all have our own frame of reference that's wrong. And if we can shift that frame of reference, or if we can get rid of that frame of reference and then approach everything. This is why in mindfulness work, they always talk to us about this idea of the present moment, because your frame of reference doesn't exist in this present moment. It only exists within you in the past, and your fears of being left out, or your fears of being kicked out of the group or not loved or whatever. That's where it exists. And then you just overlay that on everything that you witness. And weed really does help us escape that, because that's just for me. I mean, other drugs do that as well, but you know, weed lasts a little bit longer. Weed's a little softer. Weed's, you know, like it makes everything look beautiful. It makes everything look like I'm beautiful. Like, you know,
Hmm.
so there's all of these things. But
Yeah, it's actually crazy that this conversation is even happening, dude. Like, I was in bed, I was asleep, woke up in the middle of the night. I was just looking for some inspiration, some motivation, and I somehow came across this app. Had it for like 5 minutes.
really,
Scrolled, found you. You were live. You were the first live creator I saw, and I was just listening. And my finger hit the join button, and the next thing I know, you're calling on me like D, what you gotta say, you know? And I just feel like I'm fortunate enough to be at the right place at the right time to gain this awareness with you.
yeah, and that's you know, that we're grateful. You're
Mm.
grateful for, and that's where we stand, right? We just sit here and we be grateful for what is. And when you're open, and you're obviously open, because you would not be on this show, like, right? Like, you would have not found this, like,
Yeah.
had it not been the right time for you to find it. And I have to tell you, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Like, like I'm just speaking, right? I'm not trying to hold on to it. I'm not trying to manipulate. I'm not trying, like, I'm just here and I'm connected, and we're just talking. And that's
Yeah.
it. And that's all chill. Well, um so what's going to happen now is my timer's a little funky, so you might have 5 or 6 minutes left. I only have like a minute 45 on my end for you left. But what's going to happen is I will send you the text to this down in this app, under like you know, and so you'll have it, and then you can kind of go over it again if you'd like.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, man. Well, Dee, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. And get some rest. And good luck with your continued, abstaining of weed and move that body, enjoy it. It's yours. It's part of the gift of your life, man. Thank you so much for joining me.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Have a good one.
You as well, brother. Okay. Well, that was nice. So that was 36. So we went over 56 and 36. If anybody wants to come up and pick a number between 1 and 81, we can read another one. Before Cameron reached out to me, I was going to read 52. Cecilia's going to join me. All right. Sounds good.
Hi. Good morning.
Hey, how are
Doing
you?
well.
Good
You?
morning. I am doing wonderfully.
Awesome.
Yeah. Having a wonderful morning here on Noom Vibe. What state are you in? Are you in Colorado now?
I am in Colorado, and
You're in
it's so
Colorado. How is Colorado?
beautiful. I love it. Sun is just about coming up. 5:38 this morning, and I'm walking, and it's beautiful.
Oh, I love morning hikes. Sunrise hikes, man. Oh,
Yes. Yeah, and I was gonna you said you were gonna read 52, so I'm here for 52.
oh wonderful.
Yeah, let's.
Join 52. So 52 is entitled Like Tao, So Too You. And the thing about this one, I'm just stretching while I'm saying.
I'm gonna mute here and there because I'm
Yeah, I
walking.
hear you.
All
You're
right, cool.
near a road. That's absolutely okay.
Okay.
Like Tao, so to you. The thing about this is you resemble the Tao. We all do. We all resemble the Tao in different ways. This is an energetic thing, and I think in speaking with Dee, we'll see some reflection from my conversation with him here as well. All things issue from Tao. It is their mother. Then, in their own time, it returns to Tao. Like Tao, so too you act in the world of manifestation. When you recognize you are the mother of your experiences, you can identify the children that your actions birth. Loving them as your children, you free yourself from sorrow. Choose to not recognize your motherhood a victim, filled with desire and judgment. There will be no end to your turmoil. Look into the darkness and learn how to yield. Not allowing your senses to guide you, you will find peace in every crevice. What are your thoughts?
Well, I feel like, yeah, I understand. I relate. Someone was recently saying something like, see, everything is working in your favor. And I was like, do you think I don't know this? like, I couldn't be traveling like so freely and, openly if if I didn't have that trust,
Yeah.
that everything is, working for us, for the better,
Yeah. And there were times in your life and times in my life where we didn't know this.
Yes, you're right. Mm-hmm.
And we did not recognize that we were the mother. We birthed the experiences that we were having.
Do you know that, I share a lot of, like, if you want to know anything about my life, just go back and listen to all of my, talks here. like, it's all here.
Yeah.
But I was recently sharing that there was a time in my life where I thought, gosh, what did I do to deserve this life? Like, not in a good way. Like, what did I do wrong that this was served to me? Mm-hmm. Like, why me? Why don't I have different parents or a different family? Or why aren't I a different person?
Right.
And, and now to be like, wow, I wouldn't switch my life for anyone.
That's right. Yeah. I love this person I am.
Yes, and I love this incredible journey that I've co-created.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love it.
And that's I was talking to Dee a little bit ago, and that's the thing. Like, your the actions you take now are going to manifest something tomorrow. And tomorrow, when that becomes manifest and you do not take ownership, you do not recognize this is the child that you birthed yesterday by being a bitch. Right? Like this is the child that you birthed yesterday by being subtle. This is the child that you birthed yesterday by it's all cumulative.
Yeah.
You take a step and you build on something. And then once you build on that, if you have a strong foundation and that takes a long time, a lot longer than we would ever probably predict, because it's just one brick after another.
Right. Yeah. There was a time recently, I think when I was back home in New York, and that was, I was there from July through just about January, and I was just feeling, I don't know, I started getting down.
Yeah.
And then I realized, this is the thoughts that I've been thinking for the past couple of months, where I was like, oh gosh, I don't know what I'm doing here. And just kind of putting myself more in a hole with the thoughts that I was thinking.
Right.
And one day I just realized, hey, if you want something to be different tomorrow, then we better stop this right now.
Yes.
We have to stop these thoughts, and there's nothing to be really feeling this way about, except that you're like, I'm causing my own like anxiety or whatever it was, so then I just like snapped my finger seriously, and it was just like, let's go.
Right. At some point you just got to make the choice. I'm going to do this differently. And it's and that could be right in some of the popular texts and things that fake it till you make it, but it's a real thing. Like, you're really changing.
Absolutely.
It's not, and and that is all about recognizing your motherhood, recognizing that this is birthing what's coming next, and taking responsibility for your raising the children that you have birthed, raising the thoughts that you have birthed, because we birth thoughts, we birth actions. All of that comes from you.
Yes, and constantly. We're constantly doing it.
Every moment. Yeah.
And there's also a time where I didn't realize, that it was my thoughts that were creating everything. We were just talking about that, but like I just thought that, I didn't even think I thought about it,
No. Yeah.
that this was just happening. One thought after the next, and I had no control over it. I remember even I was working at this garden center that was just a 10-minute bike ride from my house, and by the time I got to work, I was in such a bad mood. And I was like, what happened from me leaving the house until getting to work? And then at some point I realized it was just the thoughts that I was thinking. I was thinking about everything that could possibly happen today with my horrible manager. That didn't happen, but it was just in my imagination that I was creating all of this stuff, Yeah, really powerful once we step into like awareness, you know, because then we realize it's us, and then it gives us options and all sorts of choices, and we can create so much better.
I remember when I was younger, and even today it still happens on occasion. And you wake up in the morning, and the first thing you think is you remember yesterday, something that went wrong yesterday, or something that you don't want, or something bad, or how people are taking advantage of you. Like, the first thought of your day is to remind you of where you were.
Yeah. And even though it wasn't a good place, I'm still reminding myself of like that.
Right. It's like, well, why are you spending your time doing this?
Right.
And then it says here, choose to not recognize your motherhood, a victim filled with desire and judgment. There will be no end to your turmoil. Wake up first thing in the morning and start that turmoil going.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. Yes. Thanks for the reminder.
Yes, it's always good to have a reminder. And
That's
you
right.
live such a beautiful life, and I'm so happy for you and all that you're doing.
Thanks so much. I don't know if you've heard this, but in July I'm going to go to Arkansas and visit Taryn Thompson for the first time.
Oh, wonderful.
She used to be on here doing
Yeah.
Good Day Sunshine, so I'll be
Mm-hmm.
meeting her in person. You being the
Yeah. I was
second
just,
wisdomer I met.
oh man,
Yeah.
you are
So
just like this is gonna be like this is gonna be an anthology book on like the history of Noom Vibe.
yeah, right. Well, the history of wisdom turning into Noom Vibe because
Yeah, well, like, and then
that's
it'll be
right.
like how wisdom got us vibing.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it. Oh, thanks so much, Marajan. You have a
Absolutely,
great
sweetie.
day. Love you
You
very
as well. We'll
much.
be in touch.
Okay.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye bye. Okay, I'm gonna be wrapping up. But I just wanted to just go over look into this last line of 52. Look into the darkness and learn how to yield. So Dee and Cameron, look into the darkness and learn how to yield, not allowing your senses to guide you. You will find peace in every crevice. Your senses, we trained our senses, and the senses also experience the manifestation, but the manifestation is just an extension of what we're thinking, of what we're experiencing, of what we're doing. We are the mother of our experience. I was going to be signing out shortly, but Dr. Rao came on, and I wanted to bring him up and say hello. He won't pick a number. Dr. Rao doesn't pick numbers because we're brothers in Brahman and Tao. How are you, brother?
Hi, Martin. How are you?
I am well.
I just came up just to say hello to you.
Oh, well, I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I was at a online retreat couple of days yesterday, and there's about um, holistic spirituality. You know?
Buddhist.
No, no, it's not Buddhist. Holistic spirituality.
Holistic spirituality. Okay, I thought you said Buddhist.
No, no, no. It's not Buddhist. So it was very uh, lot of things that were good, but then there was effort
Yeah.
for people who are beginning to understand what is spirituality, how to go about it, and all that. Uh, anyway, there was another thing I was working on. This is about one of the very bright scholarly sage. You might have heard of him as a Shankara. You know, he lived 700 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
he lived only up to 32 years. But his work was very prolific. Some of the greatest works were written, and then he revived Vedanta and all that. And he walked India across from top to bottom, west to east, north to south, by foot, several times.
Yeah.
So everything is what he has done physically to intellectually is remarkable. See, this particular poem is about 6 stanzas, Martin,
Mm-hmm.
and actually he goes away from home at the age of 8. He
Mm-hmm.
wants to take the monkhood at the age of 8. So his mother reluctantly allows him, and he goes to the Himalayas. He was born in the southernmost part of India, Kerala, right? And then he goes to Himalayas by walk. And then one day, one of the sages in Himalayas looks at this boy and then asks him, "Who are you?" You know, and then he says this 6 stanza song, 6 small poems, right?
Yep.
They're so profound. But the thing was, modern scientific, studies on meditation, they made this particular song heard by somebody, and they measured their brain waves, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
And then they found gamma rays.
Yeah.
And it's a very profound. So I was investigating that. What is it? How is it? All that. But I happen to know the depth of the meaning. Okay. So because I don't do anything without knowing the meaning. And so I have, in the previous times, listened to it several times. It's a Sanskrit. At the time, I didn't really understand. But then later on, I understood the meanings and all that, right? So I was investigating on that, right? And it's very profound. Basically, what you guys are talking about, the, the sufferings or whatever that come to you, and you kind of yield to it, or you consider as your children or whatever. In this one, very simply, your mind goes through the sufferings, but then because you are not the mind, you are the awareness, you are the ultimate awareness. So you can see that it is the mind that is going through experiences, not you. So
Right.
that kind of awareness drops everything in the right perspective, and then you go beyond the suffering. And not only that, but you gain extreme fulfillment, So that stoppage of that, and then not allowing it to continue, just being aware of it, that these thoughts are going on. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But
No, I absolutely.
in this stanzas, Martin, I'm going to end up here because you are on the go. It's like whatever, like what you are not in the first five stanzas, he will be telling that senior monk who asked him, "Who are you?" And that guy blows out, blown out by the response.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a movie also on this because it's such a significant thing about. I mean, I don't have to care about the gamma rays, but to show to people how significant that is. You see?
No, yeah, that's right, because there is effect.
Yeah,
There's physical manifested effect.
exactly. And
Right.
then the thing is, when the gamma rays means that you are beyond the thought
Right.
cyclical, and then you. That's why I say, don't think, be aware. And in
Right.
awareness, think consciously. The cyclical thought, where Cecilia was saying, she was continuously thinking and suddenly she's aware. I'm just thinking, what are these thoughts? That's it. She got the breakthrough, right? So
Yeah.
that's what it is. But most of the people don't get out of the loop of the thought. But
Right.
once you step out of it, then you are aware and you are in that. That is choiceless awareness is always with us. That is
Mm-hmm.
choiceless there. Anyway, I just want to tell you about that
But
thing.
yeah, no, that's beautiful, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I'll talk to you later.
We'll be in touch.
I'll let you go. Bye.
Okay. I encourage everybody to check out Dr. Rao. He does beautiful talks. I haven't been able to visit recently, but Dr. Rao is a wealth of knowledge, especially if you relate to what I'm talking about in any way. Dr. Rao goes deeper into it. Dr. Rao has more knowledge, especially as it relates to Brahman, but it's all the same. So thank you so much, Dr. Rao. And thank you everybody for joining me. Cameron, for texting. Hopefully we get to chat sometime. Dee Dee and Cecilia will be in touch. Thank you guys so much. And if you guys are interested in hearing these, you can check out my website. I have the Noom Vibe talks on there. Not everyone gets on. This one will. And if you're interested in my copy of the Tao Te Ching, which is what I read from, you can pick that up on my website as well, martinjohn.com. Thank you all so much for joining me. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.